Morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are, and welcome to this Smartcat webinar. It's part of our learning series where we present, some different topics at every webinar. We're just gonna wait for a couple of minutes, to make sure that everybody who's registered for this webinar has a chance to log in. I know in some cases with Zoom, you might have some issues, so having to update last minute your Zoom client, which is not great. I'm assuming we have people from different locations here. Could I have some thumbs ups to make sure that that you can hear me, that there are no issues from different people? Perfect, great. Woo, lots of thumbs up right now. So wonderful. Okay, so we have we have some very exciting topics today. I have a quick slide deck with a couple slides just to present the agenda, but I think this is going to be fun for everybody. AI is the word today. We're going to be talking a lot about AI. You're going to be listening this word. You're going to be hearing this word AI very often, but this is really exciting at this time. And then we'll even have a little surprise at the end. If you stick around for the end of the presentation, we'll give you a sneak preview into something that we're working on right now. So this is very, very exciting, so. Okay, I can see right now we have already a lot of people in this webinar. This is wonderful, really appreciate it. So we're just gonna wait just it's again a couple more minutes, to make sure we give everybody some time to log in, and then we'll get started. Great, if you're from different countries, just don't hesitate, just add a little hi note in the chat. We want to see where people are calling from. This is really interesting. We got someone from Texas, I see here, someone from Argentina. Buenos dias. Brazil is there, Georgia, France. My gosh, look at all these people. This is great. Wow. Wonderful. Okay. Turkey, Slovakia. We have some people from very countries that we don't necessarily see on our webinar. This is wonderful. Perfect. We get to know each other. Zanzibar. Do we have someone from Zanzibar today? Wonderful. Wow, incredible. Wow, welcome to all. This is really great. Okay, just one more minute and then we'll get started. There are also already a lot of people. Once again, just if you want to stick around, this webinar, hopefully this will be very interesting for all of you. And then we'll, at the end, like I said, we'll have definitely something that's going to be very interesting for a lot of people, so this is cool. I know this is a little bit of a tease here. It's going to look like one of those Apple presentations, when Steve Jobs used to say, and we have one more thing, so we're going to try to, keep it very light again today, so, and I'm not comparing myself to Steve Jobs, by the way. I don't have the, what he used to have, the black, outfits and everything. That's not the case today, so wonderful. One more minute and then we're ready to go. We're going to try to keep this light, by the way. Hopefully you'll find this very interesting. And then, wow, people mentioning that we saved their lives. Interesting. So very exciting. Happy to hear that we've been helpful, for a lot of people already. So, all right, let me share my screen. I'll start once again with the quick agenda, and then we'll go into what people want to see here, which is definitely a product demo. People don't want not very interested in just having, going through a slideshow. So anyway, the topic of this webinar here, explore the power of Smartcat AI. We're going to show you new capabilities that we've included into Smartcat. That's going to cover AI. We're also going to cover some topics around project management to make it much easier, not necessarily including AI directly, although we have AI in a lot of different part of our software. But this is mainly going to be focused on unleashing AI in your localization projects. So what is the agenda for today? What we're going to show you is first, we have an integration with the GPT-4. By the way, we had some people that were actually very surprised that we already integrated with GPT-4. We still have a lot of people working with GPT 3.5, or GPT-3. So this is great. It gives us a lot of power, a lot of opportunities to add more features into Smartcat using GPT-4. We're going to also show you how AI can be included into the editor, through the power of AI actions. I'll be showing you a couple examples for that. We want to go through also through video subtitlings and the way that you have a workflow in Smartcat to translate your videos, and that also makes use of AI, especially for the transcription. And as I mentioned, talking about some new project management features that we've added this year into Smartcat just to make your life much easier. We've listened to our users and added more features to make their project management task much easier. And as I mentioned, sneak preview of our generative language AI at the end of the demo, and then hopefully we'll have some time for some Q&A. As far as the Q&A is concerned, just like some housekeeping here, you will see in the Zoom window that we have also a Q&A list that you can post your questions right there. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can at the end. Keep in mind, if we don't get through to your questions, we'll post this video later on our website and on YouTube, and then we can also add the answers to the questions in the comments. So you'll if we don't get to your question today, depending on time, then you'll be able to get some answers eventually from us, and you can of course contact us if we don't answer your question. So. Okay, so next, once again, this is what everybody wants to see here, the product demo. So I'm gonna switch back to my Smartcat account, and I'm going to be showing you what we can do with AI in Smartcat. So here we go. What I've done today, I don't want to go through all the details of creating how to create a project in Smartcat. I already created like a small project. I'm going to be translating a sample document from English into French for France and Spanish for Spain, just to give you like a sample of what you can do using the AI translation engine in Smartcat. So again, very small project. What I have is like, in the settings, for the demonstration, I'm going to be switching between different instances of the automatic transition engines. And the way that it works when you integrate OpenAI GPT 4.0 as a transition engine, you can actually write prompts, and those prompts, this is what gives you the power to to deliver the type of content, the type of transition that you need, and it can be completely customized. And I will show you different examples of this. This is really pretty cool what you can do with this. So example of this being, for example, able to use your own terminology in the transition that's generated by the automatic transition engine, being able to localize the content while you do the translation. This is something that's very important. You write some documentations, for example, in the USA, and you want this documentation to be localized for the different countries. This requires a different effort. You not only translate, but also make sure that the content is culturally appropriate for that country. This can also be done through the use of prompt, with the automatic translation engines. For people who have some different requirements, like for example, translating content that's restricted in length, so you can also use prompt to instruct the automatic transition engine to generate content of a certain length limit. And something that's also pretty cool is the option to generate content that is simplified, and I'll show you how this is done. Now, for example, people would translate legal documents for their employees and be able to provide the employees a translation, but a translation also that's using layman's terms rather than the legalese term, which will be very hard for their employees to understand. So you have a lot of different use cases for how you can use those prompts and customize the output of the automatic translations. Very, very cool as well. So what I'm going to do here, once again, I have prepared a small file, and I will show you, the different results that you can get using this different automatic translation customized engines. So right now, I'm going to first process my documents. I'm not using any automatic translation. I just want to show you what the document looks like. So I'm going to upload the document into my project. And again, it's a very small Word file, that I've created specifically for this project. I'm going to bring it up. into Smartcat. That's going to be imported. You can see the document is being processed. And just to show you the content of the document, I'm going to just open the document, and you'll see a couple of sentences. What I've done also, I've put also a long sentence, regarding a very difficult topics, quantum mechanics, and just to be able to show you how to simplify the output of the automatic translation engine. And you can see at the bottom, I have a couple of sentences where I have like some cultural references, like, for example, talking about baseball games, talking about the White House in Washington, just to give you what you can do when you can include localization into your translation engine. So this is what the document looks like. Also, in this for this project, I've added a couple terms in my glossary to make sure that the translation is done using the terminology. So let me go back into my project. I'm gonna actually reprocess the files. Sorry, it's gonna be a lot of back and forth between different items on the system, but I just want to make sure that we have show you all those different options that we have. So I'm going to re-upload the document again. Sorry, this is going to take just a couple seconds here. And then what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to go back into, after the document has been created, I'm going to go back into my linguistic assets, and I'm going to say, okay, now I have a couple different engines that I've defined myself. And in this case, for example, rather than using the standard engines for translation, in this case, like DeepL, I'm able to choose ChatGPT, and I want the ChatGPT option that uses my glossary terms. So I'm going to translate, for example, my French and Spanish. Click on Save and Run. And then what's going to happen is my files are going to be processed. You can see right now there's some pre-translation happening, in the document. It's going to just take a couple of seconds. And then what's going to happen is that if I go into the sentence where I have some words in a glossary, you can see here family room and sunroom. There are multiple ways to translate it. The first time, I ran it, through the machine translation, sunroom was being translated by Veranda, which is also correct, but I wanted to translate it by Solarium. And you can see if I go into the sentence right here, that the terms that I've added into my glossaries are actually already used into the translation. So this is really one of the ways when you'll be able to not have to worry about your terminology being used into the translation. Is going to be automatically used by the system. I can show you how this would be translated using a different translation engine, but it definitely uses different terminology, which is why I added those two terms into the glossary. So this is really what's going to be helping you post editor, for example, to make sure that the proper terminology is used, when they translate the document. So this is one aspect of it. Now, if I go down there, you will see that at the end, the sentences that I was showing you, which, not necessarily culturally adapted, are right now translating, talk about baseball, talks about the White House in Washington. So it's not really culturally adapted, So what I can do here, I'm going to actually rerun this document here. Let me delete this document that was translated, but this time I'm going to translate with an engine that I trained, that I prompted to take into account cultural differences. Let me show you how this is done in Smartcat, because this is actually quite interesting. If I go into Smartcat, we have an option to create different automatic engine preset. So in this case, you can see I have a lot of OpenAI GPT presets. The one that I'm talking about right here is what we call GPT, what I call GPT cultural in my account. You can create as many of those as you want. The way that you create a different preset. For example, I click on Add Preset, and I would be able to define different items right here, but I've already created one for this when I want the cultural differences to be highlighted and translated separately. So I'm going to click on Edit. This is the preset that I've created, and you can see I give it a name. I'm using a ChatGPT-4. You can use a GPT 3.5 in, but you're going to get better result with GPT-4. And then this is where you put your prompts for the system to process the translation. So in this case, we give a prompt, you're translated from source language to target language. The response must be a translation, but I added also, you must also convert locations to locations related to the country where the target language is spoken. use appropriate units of measurements, very important, and also convert cultural references to references appropriate for the target language. So this is really cool, and I'm going to show you the results. This is when you will have this, all those cultural references actually localized, in where we allow you to set this prompt, to basically instruct the engine. We also provide you with a playground, where you'll be able to test your prompts before you put them into production, so you could put your source text right here and generate some output based on the different, segments that you put in for testing. And then once you're happy with your prompt, I can just basically save, the changes that you've made. And what's going to happen is that if I go back into my project right here, let me upload the files again, and then I will show you what I'm going to be doing with the engine that I've actually instructed. So I'm going to upload my file again very, very quickly. Smartcat is going to import the content from the Word file. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go in my linguistic assets, and what's going to happen is you're going to see that this specific engine that I instructed, is going to be now listed as part of my options, for translation, So this is the one that I call GPT Cultural. And you can see GPT Cultural is now, part of the options that I have here on my list, So I'll be able to just tell Smartcat, okay, I'm now for this translation, I want to use GPT Cultural, and I want, to use the instructions, that I have in the prompt, So now you'll see that the system is going to call now for pre-translation. It's going to call the automatic translation engine. This is going to take a little bit more time because, again, we have a prompt that's a little bit more complex this time. We want to do some non-translation, but also some localization. So you can see the progress right now of obtaining the results. And once this is translated, you'll be able to see the difference. And I was doing some showing the result, to some colleagues yesterday, and it's actually pretty impressive. Hopefully we get some similar results right now. Obviously, we all know when you make demos, this is when things don't necessarily go well, but I'm quite confident that we're going to get some very good results, this time, So again, it's taking just a little bit more time, with this translation here because of the fact that we have more complex instructions for the system, but this should be only a couple more, seconds right now, and then we'll be ready to see the results, So again, if you have any questions during this demonstration, please do not hesitate, just go through, and post them into the Q&A session. I see that we already have some people, that have posted some questions right here, so, okay, here, now, I can show you, I'm going to open, my French translation, and you will see, first of all, the terminology was reused, which is great, so, and then you can see at the end, the two sentences that I had, make references to the ninth inning of a baseball game in the World Series. Right now, the translation into French talk about the last minute of a football match in the World Cup. So completely localized, you don't have to have your post editor work about the localization, but this is something that's super cool. And then here, the last sentence, it was the winning team traveled for 16 miles and was hosted by the president at the White House in Washington. You can see we converted those miles into kilometers. And then we mentioned that they were hosted by the president of France in the Élysée Palace in Paris, So again, complete customization, complete localization. This is something that's people, when they look at this, they find that mind-boggling, So this is what takes a lot of work, generally for your post editor. And if I were to go to the Spanish translation, you will see again, it makes the same reference to the football game in the World Cup, and then talking about the Casablanca and Madrid, by the president. Again, I'm not sure I know the exact word of the name of the residence for the president, but there's no president in Madrid, by the way. There's the prime minister and the king. So this is not entirely accurate in this case, but just to give you an idea of the options that you have, with the localization, So this is really the type of things that you can do in Smartcat. This is pretty cool. Now, there's also options. You can write different prompts, for obtaining different results, So I can show you some of them that are written. For example, an option to write content that is informal. So for example, you see, you must use the informal form in my prompt rather than using the formal form. And this could be helpful, for when you have like some of you colleagues that want something to go internal, they want to use a formal, informal version of the translation, not something that's available with a lot of translation engines. For example, DeepL offers it, but only for few languages. And we have people say, well, I would like to use the informal version, for Portuguese, for example. We even had someone mentioning to us that there is an informal version in Japanese, so those are the type of things that you can instruct your system to use exactly the form that you want to use, so same thing when you can, for example, vote like another prompt here to say, you have your entire response must be a translation with fewer characters than the source text, even if you have to simplify the text, so instruct, the engine to produce a translation that's going to be shorter than the original. For example, in this case, English still makes sense, but you'll be able to fit it into whatever space you have for the translation. So really a lot of different possibilities, So in addition to instructing the engines, we also have what's called AI actions. AI action is the process is the same. You write a prompt, but in this case, rather than working directly over the entire document, you're going to be working inside the editor and create buttons in the editor. For example, you can see I created some AI actions here when I'm going to ask, the system, can you tell me, what the grade level is needed to read this translation? This is an option. They have also an option to use transcreation to simplify the text, and where those buttons will appear, if I go into my files, and I will show you, I'm going to open my French document again, for example, and then inside my editor, I will see a button in my toolbar that's going to, actually, I need to refresh because the toolbar is not displaying here. That's going to show me, and I'm not sure why the toolbar is not displaying, but if I click on the button for AI actions, you will see I have like some different options right here based on the buttons, the prompts that I created inside the document, So, for example, I have like, this sentence that's very, very complicated, and the translation actually has been correct, in English, in French. And then I could say, what would be the grade level needed to read, this translation, for example, so, the system is going to go back, actually regenerate the translation and say, hey, I need grade level number over 12th grade to be able to understand, this sentence. And to me, this looks very complicated. I'm not a specialist in quantum mechanics, obviously, but what I can ask the system is can you generate a translation that's actually simplified, So I'm going to click on simplify, and then the system is going to generate a new translation that's been simplified. And in this idea, I've asked the system to generate a translation that could be read, for example, by a sixth grader, and you can see that this time, rather than talking about subatomic particles, we talk about little things inside the atoms, on the and then we have to use some special functions that have like, the way they work, So this is really, once again, it's a use case when someone might be able to have like a legal document that they need translated, and they also want to be able to generate something that's in layman's term, for their colleagues, So you have this option here to do something like this. You can also have the option to shorten, like, so for example, you can see this sentence right here, it's 84 characters in the English, and it's 99 characters in the French. I could use this AI action, say, hey, generate a new translation, but I want this translation to actually be shorter, and it still maintain the meaning of the sentence, So this is really the idea here that, that you can use inside the editor. And we also have, I created something when I told, the prompt was to go ahead and, like, for example, do not necessarily use a straight translation, but you can use some transcreation. You can adapt, the translation. And for example, like, for this sentence, you'll be able to see that, rather than having the same sentence, the system generated something that's very, like, different, but for example, talks about like not a sunroom anymore, talks about a veranda, but makes it like illuminated, with some lights. There's the family room is more than comfortable. It's comfy, it's using like, some words here to make it a little bit more, I would say, marketing, salesy, so this is the type of things that you can do with these AI actions, so this is, again, you have access to all of this. This is really pretty cool with the type of things that you can do using the AI transition in Smartcat. It's going to really it's going to shorten the time that it's going to take to post edit your content. You won't have to worry about localization. You won't have to worry about terminology. You won't have to worry about creating different versions, of a document that's very complicated. All those tasks are going to be taken away from you by AI. So this is really one of the benefits of the platform. So wonderful. Okay, so now that we've talked about this AI, the generations of new automatic translation. What I wanted to do also is show you what the process would be to process a video. You can see right now what I did is I processed a file. It's a Word file, but what we've added right now also into the system is the option to process videos in Smartcat, to create subtitles, and even to output a video with subtitles that are burnt in. So I'm gonna go ahead and upload. I have a sample video that I use for testing. It's a very simple video. You'll see I'm going to be dropping an MP4 file. I don't even need to drop in like, the subtitles or anything, just drop an MP4. You can also drop an MP3 if you want, if you have only like audio. I'm going to click on finish, and then Smartcat is going to decode the video. You're going to see it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to decode the video. It's going to convert the video to text, that can be translated, and finally generate automatic translation. What's going to be great is that you'll see once we open the editor, the output that you have and what you can do with this. When I was talking about this process, this workflow uses AI because we actually use an AI engine to transcribe the video. So this is like, you have options when you work with videos to do some manual transcriptions, but manual transcriptions takes time. So in this case, we're simply going to post that MP4, and then Smartcat will call on a automatic AI transcription engine to transcribe the document into something that can be translated. We have integration with different AI transcription engines. They're going to be selected eventually based on multiple factors, like for example the language that's being transcribed. Some of them do work better than others in some languages, but we support many languages as far as the transcription is concerned. Right now this document is in English, but if you have videos in different languages, you'll also be able to transcribe those videos even if they're in different languages. So now the system is doing a translation of the video. While this goes on, I'm just going to open the document. I don't have to wait until the document is fully translated. What you're going to see here is that you have at the top, a translation, the transcription of the video. So you can see here, we have like some sentences. You're looking for a solution to help with every aspect of your transition requirements, blah, blah, blah. We talk about Smartcat. The great thing about the solution in Smartcat is that when you translate the video, you can also preview the video inside the editor. So this is what I'm doing right now. You can see at the bottom, I have like, my video. You might not be able to hear the video, but here you can see the video that is running in the bottom, so that when you have someone doing the translation, they'll be able to view what the video looks like while they translate it, which is really super helpful. You want the people who translate the content to have some context information. So this is how it works in Smartcat. You can also preview what the subtitles will look when they are translated. You can see right now the subtitle is actually in French. I can show the subtitle in English. So this allows you to, again, before the transition is completed, to see if the subtitles will fit, if they need to be resized, and you can again use those AI actions, to shorten the output of the transition if you want. So this is where the combination of all the different AI engines that we have in Smartcat are super helpful. The transcription, the automatic translation, modifying the content of the translation. So this is really pretty cool. And then when the transition is completed, right now, once again, I interrupted the process right now for the sake of time. You'll be able to download the translation in different formats. You say you can download the translation as an SRT file, so you could use the existing translation, upload some subtitles if you want, both SRT or VTT. A lot of learning and development applications use VTT for subtitles. Other applications use SRT. And you also have the option to download an MP4 with built-in subtitles. And Smartcat is going to actually, before you download the document, Smartcat is going to show you what those subtitles will look like when the MP4 is downloaded. So you could go into your content, replace the video that you have, for example, in English or whatever other language, and be able to replace, that video by a video that has built-in subtitles. So you don't have to worry about your users like switching different subtitles. Everything will be presented automatically into in the video. So before I forget, you'll also have the option in Smartcat to edit the output of the transcription. So we let you make changes so that when you store those sentences, in your translation memory, you'll have a correct source language and a proper target language as well. So this is really something helpful in this case. So this is the workflow that we have for video. Once again, very powerful. You have the transcriptions, you have the automatic translation, and inside the Smartcat editor, you have the option to obviously optimize the automatic translation, including localization, or once again shortening, the length of the translation. So this is what we've done for the as far as the video workflow. Now, a couple things quickly that we've done also to help you manage, your projects. Let me go back to my main page. We've now created the options to, we've listened to our users who've asked us, can you give us the option to create project templates? And project templates, if I click on project template, it's going to give me the option to define all kinds of things, when you create a project, rather than creating a project from scratch. You have the option that says I'm going to give the template a name. I'm going to put a description, but then define the workflow for the project. I want to have automatic translation plus post editing, maybe a proofreading stage after that. I'll be able to specify which linguistic assets, which transition memory do I want to use for the projects that I'm creating using this template, which glossary do I want to use, which automatic transition engine I will be using, and also how those assets will be used. So I want to pre-translate my document using my translation memory first, obviously. And then if I don't find anything in my translation memory, I want to actually call into the automatic translation engine and then get the transition that I need. Choose a different engine for different languages. Choose the different, once again, the ones that I was showing you, the custom ones if you want, so. And then you'll be able to define also, if you allow your users, the user of the system to upload reference file, to upload instructions, and also choose different QA settings. Like, for example, do we want to check for length of the segments? It's very important. Do we want to check to make sure that the terminology is used correctly? All those different things, so you'll be able to create a template that's going to make project creation much, much faster. I have some sample templates right now that I have. I could just click on this and you will see that, I can just the languages that I can choose from have already been pre-selected. I have only a couple of languages. I don't have to go through all the languages. My deadline is calculated automatically, and I can just simply drag and drop the documents that I want to translate. And my post editing is already checked. My workflow stages have been set already. So very, very simple. I only need basically to drop in, the files that I need to translate, so very, very simple to create projects. In conjunctions with this, what we've done also is that we've given people the options, once a project has been created, to clone a project, so you have the option right now, it says copy projects. So if I were to click on copy projects, I would have the option here to copy all the project settings, so if you have a project that's been created, when you have, for example, over the 15, 16 languages, you have different translation memories, you have different rules, you have different glossaries, different, automatic translation engines. You want to replicate this without having to replicate the project, with all the details. You can simply copy the project settings, and then Smartcat will create a new project based on the exact same settings and just upload a document, and you're ready to go. By the way, with those project templates, Smartcat will also allow you to eventually set your task assignments. You'll be able to select the team of people that you want to work on a specific project. So project templates are going to give you the power to create projects very, very quickly, using those templates with the workflow, with the assignments. So again, very, very powerful. So this is what we've done as far as making project management easier. We also, talking about AI, we use AI for assignments of translators. As you probably know, Smartcat has a marketplace of over 500,000 translators. We do use machine learning algorithms in the background to compare the content of what the translators are translating, the quality of their work, to when you want to access the marketplace, be able to select the best possible translators for your content, and also for the languages that you're translating. So this is, once again, I was telling you, there's a lot of AI in a lot of places in Smartcat. Now, for the quick peek, of something, that we are right now in a closed beta. We also have a waiting list if you want, but I can give you a sneak peek, which is the what we have our AI generative content system. And you can see we have actually created a page on our website. You can go to smartcat.com, /AI content generator, and then you have access to this page with some information, and you'll have the option to join the list on this page. So this is really join the waiting list, and you'll have access to this. The way that this works, I'm going to give you a quick little peek, is that this is a not just a chatbot. Obviously, it's going to do things that chatbot do, but it's going to work with your own content. Rather than generating new content that's going to be based on whatever OpenAI, crawl 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We're going to be actually using your content, the content that you put into Smartcat, and we're going to use this to basically contextualize your prompt. So in this case, in this account, we have like a lot of information about a lot of documents that talks about dogs. We're trying to find a quick topic that's not confrontational or could be generating some issues. So I'm logged into my AI assistant. The AI assistant is going to be on your workspace. You can see AI assistant, it's going to take me to this page. And from here, I can generate content. And again, the great part about this is going to generate content based on your own content, not someone else, So I'm going to click on the generate button right here. And then I'm going to then be able to ask, for example, some topics. Like, for example, hey, can you suggest article titles about dogs? So I have like, a prompt right here. And then what Smartcat is going to do is going to search through your content, the content that we have in this account, and say, okay, maybe I can use this for context, so something is going to help me find some ideas. I can show more. You can, whatever content you have into the system, Smartcat is going to display here. I'm going to select a couple articles here. That'd be great. We can pick some ideas from here, and I'm going to click on generate, and then Smartcat is going to generate, give me some type of articles, for example, about dogs, again, using your content, your content into whatever language you have in Smartcat. If you translate your content into Spanish, French, German, whatever it is, then you can ask prompts in your own language, and then you'll get answers in your own language using your own content, using your terminology, using your tone of voice. Again, not using, words that are being crawled over the internet years ago, and as you might know, by the way, OpenAI right now is just like, this week, released like an option to block them from crawling your website. So it's very possible that your content will never make it into ChatGPT. And when you generate content, it's not going to be customized for your own requirements, But with Smartcat, you don't have to worry about this. Your content will be used, to generate new content. You'll get something that's relevant, for your users, So I can show you another quick one, which is also pretty interesting. I'm going to generate some content, for example, hey, do you have instructions, about on training dogs, for example? Again, we have a lot of content about dogs. It's not, and then I'm going to click on generate. And again, you have options. Hey, like, this is the content where we found, a new content about, generate like, training dogs, and then I'm just going to use like a couple of the articles, click on generate, and Smartcat is going to go ahead and generate like, title, effective training tips for Alaskan Malamutes. And you can see this came from the articles that I selected. So this is really relevant information. And again, like, Smartcat is going to give me like a framework, the AI assistant, a framework for, a possible article and some information, and then you can take this information, you can actually enhance it if you want, but you have a good basis, to get started for generating some content, so this is super useful. Some use cases for this, obviously, like, people in your company that could just like, if you work in marketing, if you work in L&D, you'll be able to generate like new course frameworks, new course IDs. You can generate tweets and things like this. It could also be used by people on the field, so if you have like, service documents, if you have instructions and things of that nature, people will be able to go ahead and instead of generating content, they'll be able to ask questions. Like, for example, hey, how do these things, and then Smartcat will show a couple references of documents that could be helpful for the instructions, and then they're going to get instructions that are catered for the exact problem. Can you imagine how helpful that would be for example, for your sales force, to be able to be on the field, speak to customers, and be able to answer questions right on the spot rather than having to wait, to speak to like, a specialist, or for people like service people on the field, that need an answer, on like, that's found in some manual somewhere that was translated, a couple of years back, so, and then they'll be able to generate instructions, step-by-step instructions on how to do something based on, again, on your own content, not something that ChatGPT found in someone else's website, so this is really a quick overview, of this, of our AI assistant. This is really very unique in the sense that it uses your own information. It uses your translated information. It's a true multilingual, system. We don't translate the information. We actually use your own, words, your own translation, not some generated translation of content from someone else. So this is what allows, for example, your marketing people to have truly, truly unique, content based on what they've done in the past. So this is it for the presentation. Hopefully you find it very interesting. I think we have some questions from the team here. I think we have a lot of questions, in fact, so let me see if I can answer some of them. Privacy questions, that is correct. This is obviously something that comes up, often. There's a questions, that comes up like from people say, what about, privacy? So your business data doesn't leak outside of your workspace or your organization, so we do not save the information, so we don't look at your informations and we don't use it to train, other people's, systems, so this is really something that you can keep in mind. We're not going to share your information with, other people, so now some question, I cannot see the settings seen in Smartcat, how to navigate to this from a project. Now, we need to enable, for example, if you're looking for Smartcat actions or for the options to train, to create prompts in your system, this is something that we need to activate, in your account. So I would suggest that you contact us if you want to do some trials, and then our sales team can help you, with that, in conjunction with our support team to be able to set that up into your system, so. Next question, can we change the prompting on the project level to address a certain content type? Absolutely, you can. And once again, as I was showing you, you can create new AI actions. You can remove them, create new one and you cannot select which button appears on a project per project basis, so, but you have the option to select, different AI prompts. And you can also have the option, if you have like, an enterprise account, to have multiple workspaces when you can have different prompts created. For example, your marketing team might have some specific prompts, your technical team might have some specific prompts that will show in their own workspaces, so. Questions from Brian. Are the prompts used by ChatGPT and its output shared with OpenAI? I think I answered this question before. That's not the case. No, we don't share your prompts, and we don't share the output either. So everything is segregated within Smartcat as well. So A question: when will the GPT functionality be available? This is again what I'm showing you right now. Is this first of all, the AI translation by GPT is already available. So this is something. If you want to test it, contact your sales representative, your account executive, and they can help you to activate it into your account. So, and as far as the AI assistant right now, as I was saying, it's closed beta right now, and this will be widely available, toward the end of this month. So once again, I would encourage you to go to the webpage and then join maybe the waiting list if you're interested in doing some testing. So, question: this tool at the top shows only if you create at the previous step. I'm not certain I understand the questions. Marcelo, maybe if you could rephrase the question, contact us. We can definitely either give you a demo and then try to answer these questions. Where Smartcat, next question, where Smartcat is the single entry point, Smartcat single entry point for several content types, or is it to determine what content language should enter GPT only, post editing? So again, you can decide. For example, there could be a decision to use which transition memory you want to use, which GPT engine you want to use. So all this can be done. You can use a template, project template, to decide, the workflow, to decide which GPT engine will be used for each, workflow. Or if you want to go just to a human transition workflow, you absolutely have that option in Smartcat to create a workflow only around human translation. But even if you use human translation, this AI actions I was showing you will still be available for your linguist. So. Options is I've noticed that the full option for transit with GPT-4 is not downgraded to GPT 3.5. Actually, like if you have an account with us, you will have access to prompts, using GPT-4. I'm not sure we can look at, for example, if you have more information, we can check with your account. Like what you said, it was downloaded to GPT 3.5, but definitely we have GPT 4.4 for your prompts in Smartcat. So, another question: would you guys share any of these prompts with us? Of course, we can definitely do that. So I'd love to try them out in a project. And sometimes it's tricky to think of a prompt from scratch. From Bruna, we'll be, of course, very happy to help you with that. You can once again schedule, a call with our sales team, and we can have a call, and then we can share some prompts, so for sure. So, question: do we identify the source language? Yes, we do identify the source language when you work with the AI assistant. Once again, I just showed you only with English source text, but we do identify the source language to give you a response that's in the language that the prompt was asked. So. Next question: is there a way to superscript registered marks in French using AI prompts? I've never tried it, but as you can tell, you can really write some pretty detailed prompts, so it is very possible that you can absolutely do this. This is something that we can test, for you as well. I'm not certain. Once again, I'm going to be honest here. This is not something that I've tested. It's a good idea, actually. Maybe something we can test, So next questions, and that's going to be the last questions we're going to answer today, I'm afraid, because we're going to run out of time. Sorry if this is already mentioned, but AI going to be incorporated in the automatic transition from now on. Again, it's totally your option. As I was mentioning, it's complete flexibility in Smartcat to use whatever workflow you want. You can use a workflow that's totally with human translation, or you can use a workflow that uses AI for translation. And again, you can customize completely the output of the AI transition that you get. So this is really the options that you have inside Smartcat. So again, sorry if we haven't answered all the questions. We will address them. I promise. We are tracking all those questions. We will get back to you. We have your names, and we'll be able to reach out to you, with some answers, to your specific questions. So I apologize not be able to answer all the questions. So right now, this is the end of this webinar. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can definitely, reach out, to us, either our sales team, or you can reach out to me. My email address is on the slide right here. It's very easy to remember, Jean-Luc at smartcat.ai. And I'll be happy to, once again, answer all the questions that you have. We can schedule calls if needed, but once again, hopefully this was a very enjoyable webinar. We look forward to seeing you guys again in our next learning series webinar, which you'll be notified via email, when this happens. So again, thank you very much. We'll have a recording of this webinar posted shortly, probably early next week after the video has been edited. And then you will be able to share this video with some of your colleagues if some of them are interested. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of the day. We look forward to seeing you in the next webinar.